Welcome back to the Sens Spotlight podcast, brought to you by the Sick Podcast Network. And before we get started, bet the beauties with Betway and scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and download the app. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Betway is an official sponsor of your Ottawa Senators. Also, don't forget to hype, like, and subscribe to the show. Hit that hype button. That really helps us out too. And it's time to vent, Sens fans. There's been a lot of bad losses this season. That might be the worst. Senators were up 3-0, game over, signed, sealed, and delivered. I had a story that will not be published because I thought they were going to win, and the PK kills them once again, and here we are. So we got it all covered with myself and Pierre McGuire once again. So it should be a fun show, despite maybe a bit of the pain. So hit it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Send Spotlight.
Here's Alfredson, bursts the speed, gets a shot away, scores! Daniel Alfredson ends the game in overtime and sends the Ottawa Senators to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in franchise history.
The sickest Ottawa Senators podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And we're once again joined by Pierre McGuire. Just initial thoughts on last night's collapse.
Penalty kill is not very good. Line changes need to be better. We've talked about that a lot on this show. You can't let your guard down on the road, whether you're up 1-0, 3-0, 5-2, doesn't matter. And they let their guard down because they got sloppy with details to the game. Bad stick position, bad body position, bad reads, trying to be over-aggressive, not paying attention to little things in their own zone, penalty kill passive, and then trying to be aggressive. I mean, there's so much. It's a laundry list of things. But I'll give you an example. The first power play goal by Stamkos, I get what Ridley Gregg's trying to do. I totally get it. He's trying to be aggressive at the defensive blue line, the offensive blue line. He missed. He made a misplay. It happens all the time. But that's when guys that are killing have to help him out. They didn't help him out, and that's a pretty routine stop for Stamkos. You're going to get that every time and score. You're going to get it down the middle, and he's going to score. There was no help. Nobody slid to help out. And so the penalty kill, and I hate to beat this up because we talk about it almost every day, but I coached in the league a long time. This penalty kill, I don't care what anybody says. I'll go in a room with them and show them where it's flawed if they want. It's no good.
I bring up a quote, okay? I know the penalty kill is a hot topic here. It's a hot topic in our room. When do you think that was said, Pierre?
Probably the third or fourth game of the year.
Yes. You nailed it. It was the second game of the year.
Yeah, I could. This has been a thing that's killed these guys.
Yeah, and the goaltending's been bad. We all admit it. But the PK has been just as bad. And when we write the autopsy of this season for the Senators, they should be linked right together. It's not just goaltending. And that goal by Stamkos, the tying goal, it's a cross seam pass without any no one's contesting it because
I'm glad you brought that up. So if you watch the tape, Zub's covering air in the slot because he thinks he's got to rotate up. Pinto doesn't rotate back. He's a step slow because he thinks Zub's supposed to be in that spot. So then you got two guys out of the four that are checking air. And that's what allows a cross-crease feed to happen. So the right defenseman, steps up to the slot. 12, who's supposed to have the back door, he goes to the slot, and then he's too slow. He's a step and a half slow. That's all it takes in the NHL. And so, again, I'm watching. I'm going, oh, man, come on. These are simple fundamentals. And I'll just go one more. When you look at the big goal, Stamkos from O'Reilly, when you watch that goal, all I'm asking people to do is watch what Jensen does. He loses a board battle to O'Reilly. Watch what Shabbat does. Shabbat goes to the wrong areas, and he's got two hands on his stick, and more times than not, his stick's up in the air. And watch what Brady does. Brady's supposed to come across and support, and he doesn't. He's standing on the backside pole, to the point where he can shatter his stick on the goalpost afterwards because he knows that's it. It's over. These are simple fundamentals, and I don't know if it's because they don't have a lot of, and I mean this sincerely, I don't know if it's because they don't have a lot of practice time, because a lot of teams don't, including them. I don't know if it's because guys just think they're too cool for school, or I don't know if guys just aren't listening. I don't know which one it is, but something's gone kaflooey here with the little details in their game. Even when they were winning, they were still apparent.
And you were talking, I mean, I don't know. I will never be an NHL coach. I don't, I think that's pretty certain. But, all those three guys, outside of maybe Jensen in his prime, but are not known for being defensive savants.
Yes, agreed.
And when I saw Jake Sanderson get off the ice and with Artem Zub with a minute and a half, I'm like, why is Drake Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, Thomas Chabot, and Nick Jensen on the ice with a minute and a half left in the game?
Mm-hmm.
None of those guys right now, as we speak, are good defensive players.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. Tim Stützle was on the ice. I wasn't worried about him.
No, there's another issue with Timmy, though. We'll get to him. Finish your thought.
Sure.
There's another issue.
And I'm thinking to myself, you remember that game when they lost again? I can think of three off the top of my head. The play Jordan Spence made against
the Islanders.
The Clevin clearance with 24 seconds left against Minnesota. School. And all those games are late game goals when the wrong people are on the ice. And I don't care unless you get an offensive zone draw. Just play Jake Sanderson the whole time.
He would probably tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
He would probably leave me out there. I had Chris Pronger. He was 19 years old. He looked at the bench. Leave me out here, man. And we would.
Yeah. And I'm not worried that Jake Sanderson's going to be too tired with 2 minutes left in the game. That guy is an absolute animal. And it just, you look at last night and it just feels like, outside of the goaltending, because, people might be ripping Reimer for his, none of the goals in my mind were his fault at all.
No,
none of them.
Blaming Reimer.
None of them.
One that Stamkos bats out of the air. What's he supposed to do there?
Then it's a 2-on-0.
The Stamkos power play goal. What is he supposed to do there? The backdoor feed. What's he supposed to do on that? Tell me.
He was really good. He made a couple
I thought he was
saves.
Good. I don't blame the goalie at all on this.
And that's
by
why
the way, they dominated faceoffs. It wasn't like a little bit of they dominated the puck possession game. I think it was 73-28, if I remember correctly. They dominated the faceoff game, but they stunk in the penalty kill. And I know it says 2 for 5 in the ratings, but it's 3 for 5. The Marchessault goal is a power play goal. And by the way, can you explain that to me? What are guys doing on their changes? How does that happen?
Last year they sucked on changes too. I had multiple stories where I'm like, I don't know how to write about this because it's line changes, but they're bad at it. I can tell you. And this year it's killed them too, mostly in the second period with the long change. But Tyler Clevin, what are you doing? What is the whole team doing? You're on a PK. Why are you jumping out and not being mindful of kind of the Nashville players right now? It's there's too many times what are you doing? And I don't think they're bad hockey players by no means. I think this team is still a good team as a whole and a playoff team but I don't think they will be, right? And I think we're at the stage now where if they don't sweep the weekend, I think I'm gonna hit the "it's over" button. I don't know.
I think that's fair. You're almost close to double digits now, right? You're almost close to double digits out of third place in the Atlantic. So here's, and I'm sure you've done it. Carolina's coming off a loss, even though they got the loser point in Chicago. They probably deserved better, so they're coming in angry. Vegas got torched last night, even though the score is friendly 4-3. They were down 4-0 in Boston. They're going to be anxious and angry too, so they're going to take it out on somebody first. And they're Toronto tonight. Then they're going to come into Ottawa. Then you got Colorado. Those are your next 3 games. Home against Carolina, home against Vegas, home against Colorado. And this is the dirty little secret. That Vegas game is a 5:00 start. It's not a 7:00 start.
Vegas isn't on a back-to-back. Ottawa is.
No, Vegas is going to be fat and cooled out. And your guys are going to be grinding because Carolina is going to grind you. That's just how they play. And they're going to probably put 35 to 45 shots on goal because that's how they play. They're way different than a lot of teams in the league. This is my one. I know we're past Christmas. I would, if I could talk to Michael King without being obnoxious, I would call him up and I'd say, Michael, make a tape of how the Buffalo Sabres kill penalties. Show it to the coaches. Don't show it to the players. Show it to the coaches. Say, fellas, I got a thought. Let's try to copy, because imitation is the finest form of flattery. There have been times this season where Buffalo's been number 1 in the league on the penalty kill, number 2 in the league in the penalty kill. Going into their game last night with Montreal, they were number 7 on the penalty kill. The penalty kill last night in Montreal won Buffalo the game. I'm watching Ottawa and Nashville, and I'm going, give me some Buffalo penalty kill, man. Give me just one or two sequences of it.
They've lost, in the last 4 games, they've lost 3 of them when they've had multi-goal leads. And you know what? In those games, you know how many they've given up 4 power play goals or shorthanded goals on the penalty kill. And that's discounted, really 5 with the Marchessault goal. So that's 5 in 3 games, right? And you if in any of those games, if one of them doesn't go in, you win the game, basically.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. You and I both, and I think the fans do too. This is a good team. I don't think people are blinded by loyalty. They got really good players. They've got good size. They've got guys that are getting better. Like Ridley Gregg has improved.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? Do you agree?
Oh, he's been unreal.
He made one tough play last night, but he needed help. You know, he tries to dive to get the puck out. If he would do it again, if you showed him in a coaching maneuver, keep your feet, don't sell out like that. Just keep your feet, live to fight another day. That's the line that a lot of coaches like to use. He didn't. It's okay. It's a young person mistake. He's improved significantly. I think Jordan Spence has improved significantly. I look at Jake and the way he plays at night, and I know people say, well, he's already good. He's better than good. So you look at everybody internally. Amadi is just such a reliable, safe player. Timmy's at another level. Like, I can keep going. Drake. But the results aren't getting them. They're not. And a big part of this thing is the freaking penalty kill. It's a huge part of this thing.
Yeah. I would, I was thinking like Steo/Green. I think they deserve a lot of ownership for this in twofold. If this season looks like it goes on the course that it seems destined to be going on right now, Steos deserves the recourse or the reprimand, I guess, for the fact that he never addressed goaltending until it was too late. If they had this version of James Reimer in November, even with the shitty penalty kill, they'd be in a playoff spot, in my opinion.
Yep. We agree. I'm not arguing with you at all.
They would have. I was doing the math in my head, and I'm thinking about all these games. I'm like, I literally think they could have like 8 more wins, and I don't even think that's me like being like a homer.
Not being a homer, you're not being a fanboy. I get it.
No, I'm just like, oh, I remember this game where the goalie sucked. I remember this game, right? And then, as I did in the, off the top, like I was complaining about the penalty kill in September. And nothing's changed. They were last when he said that quote in October. They were last on the penalty kill. What are they now? They are last.
Are they last? Now, I know going into the game yesterday, I think they were second last. Vancouver, I think, was below them.
I will double check, but I am almost
going into the game last night. I think they were second to last or third to last. I look at that every morning.
They are second last by like 2%.
Yeah, so that's what it was yesterday. Hey, listen, close enough. I remember when you and I started this little voyage, and I love doing this with you. It's therapeutic for me, and I love that team so much.
Therapeutic for me too.
I love the team. I love the city. I want everybody to do well there. But I remember they played Montreal and Quebec City, and I don't know. I don't remember the stats. You watch a lot of games. You're not going to pinpoint all the stats. But what I remember is how bad the penalty kill looked in that game. And I'm like, oh, man. Now, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because it's a preseason game. They got a lot of different guys in there. A lot of guys probably going to go to the American Hockey League, whatever. But I'm watching that going, oh, tell me this isn't going to be their penalty kill scheme. Because if it is, they're toast. And the penalty killing scheme is not good.
And I'll say like a bit of the dirty laundry out loud, maybe a little bit, is Nolan Baumgartner, runs the penalty kill. I am not in the business of wanting anyone to be fired. But what I will say is he's been tied at the hip with Travis Green for a long time in their coaching careers, from Utica to Vancouver, et cetera, et cetera. I think you look at I look at Toronto, right? They fire Mark Savard on the power play, the terrible power play. Look at their record since they did that. One, the power play is really good, and their record's pretty good too. Yeah. They could make the playoffs now. That's, again, that's how I feel about this team right now. Is they could have made moves to address these problems months ago. And like the moniker for Steady Steve from the fan base is Steady Steve. I don't think he would never call himself that, so I'm not going to say that. But what I would say is that at a certain point, the lack of any decision or kind of just inaction is the worst form of action. And I think with this team is they held on to, there's other things, glass half full, everything's okay for out shooting teams, blah, blah, blah. At a certain point, address the need, address the problem, right? And the season's going to fall by the wayside because I think, not because this team wasn't good enough, but because coaching, management, and players too, as you said on that last goal, what is Shabbat doing? What is Nick Jensen? What is Brady Tkachuk doing? And maybe that's a good place to go for Tkachuk because I thought he had a pretty tough night. And I know a lot of the fan base is harping on him. He had one of those like 0.0000 stat lines, which I always love that NBA meme, but don't love thinking about it in this context. But what do you make of just Tkachuk last night?
He was pedestrian at best. That's probably the nicest way I can say it. Underwhelming. I thought he would be way more responsive, especially coming off of the win that they had in Columbus that they had to win, and the fact that they had put points in the bank in, 4 or 5 straight games. I wasn't happy with his game. I don't think he was happy with his game. There were 2 guys last night. I watched them both pretty close. One was Brady and one was Connor McDavid. McDavid had a rough night too. That's back-to-back games where he hasn't got points. And I'm watching Brady, and I know these guys are worn out. Like the better players on all these teams, I get it. I'm not making excuses. But I think a lot of them, and I said this on Montreal radio the other day, stop with the Olympic talk. Let's just play the season till the Olympic break. Then the guys that are going to the Olympics, let them go. But this Olympic talk, it's like permeating the league. It's permeating the players' brains. Every day it's something different. It's an injury here. It's a new player there. It's a debate on whether this guy should be on it or that guy. Like, that's not what this is supposed to be about. This is the NHL season. Let the Olympics happen when the Olympics happen. But I think the Olympics have eaten up a lot of the oxygen in the league since at least Christmas time.
Do you think it's affected his play?
I do a little.
In what ways?
I just don't see him being as hard on it. I see him almost being distracted a little bit. I think another thing, and I don't know because I haven't talked to Brady, so I'm speculating in this. I think the fact he's not playing with Timmy, I think might bug him a little bit too. Tim, remember I said I want to talk a little about Timmy? So he's such an important player, and he definitely is going to. But you can see, like last night, there was a sequence when he was yelling at the referee because he thought there should have been a penalty,
and there should.
Yeah, but he should just. I'm telling you, like these guys aren't going to give him any slack because he's got the rep, and they got to kind of corral him and say, "Here's how you got to do it. You're not there yet. Let's get you to the level where no matter what you say, they'll start to listen. But now they're not listening to you, and it's going to hurt you."
And he gets a penalty on that.
And then they score. So
I will say the refereing, I know
I'm telling you, I've seen this with Brad Marchand. I've seen it with a lot of guys over the years. Steve Ott was another guy, Steve Ott was a hard player. Like, he was a good hard player.
Mm-hmm.
I did all these, almost 2,000 games. I'm down there and I hear what's being said and I know how they're looking at it. And usually you hang out in the same hotels as the referees when you're doing TV at that level, just because they stay, you all stay at the same places. The teams stay at other places. You usually hang where the referee. And so you hear what guys say. Now, nobody has said anything to me about Timmy, but I know how they work. And I'm watching them going, oh, man, just somebody grab them and say, don't worry about the referees. You just go play. Just go play.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that sequence where he almost scores, gets held. Yep. Then they go down and score. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, can you just call and then they call a penalty on him. And I'm like,
this is my point. So the other part of that one is, and you know what, I think I like Tommy a lot. Tommy's got to sense danger. Like, you can't get caught in the offensive corner with 5 seconds to go in a period. I don't give a poop how hard you were trying to manufacture offense. Dude, you got to be back.
I love Shabbat, but his defensive awareness, I think
what I'm talking about, right? Like,
yeah. At this stage in his career, for me, that's probably who he is, right? I don't think he's as gaff prone as he was before, and he's playing with a better team now. They have the puck more, which I think really helps him out, that he's just not defending as much. But, I know the second power play unit's been okay of late. It's probably been a bit better than the first unit. I still don't love him being the quarterback, not because he's not a good quarterback, but I always feel the other team can score. Maybe I'm just ruined by all the short.
He's a better shooter. He'd be better on the flank than he would be in the middle.
Yeah.
He's not Lane Hudson, and he's not Quinn Hughes. And in his prime, he's not Drew Doughty. Those guys were Brian Leach. I can go down Sergei Zub. He's not any of those guys. He's not. So, you got to recognize his strength. He can gun it. He can rip it. And he can transport it. He can really transport it. And so there's a lot of positives to his game. But running it, and
that's why, I still think if you put Man Palo with Shabbat, they're a better duo than Nick Jensen. And again, I have nothing against Nick Jensen as a player, but there's too many reads. That's the one thing I don't understand. I don't know if I even want to ask him it, because it's kind of like, hey, what changed, in person, but just some of his reads don't make sense. I can think of 4 plays last night where he overcommitted or misread a play, like a routine play, nothing like Connor McDavid bursting at you and you're kind of lost, or, for the wary, just because it's, Connor freaking McDavid, right? And I don't like that with Thomas Chabot, who is gaff prone as well. And then you see it on the ice on that goal, where it's not just one mistake, it's both of them. Obviously Brady too, and it's just what are we doing here?
So this is, again, just to go into the tape room. I'm going to try to take you there. So if you're watching that last night on the plane, if you're the coaching staff and you want to make a correction, you show Nick, you're in a foot race with O'Reilly. He's not overly quick. You're quicker than him. You're a right-hand shot. You're on the left-hand side of the ice. So you're on your forehand. So you can do it one of two ways. You can reverse it back up the left side, or you can rim it, or you can just bump it into the right corner, which is probably the smartest play. And you illustrate that to the player. But if you watch Jensen go in, he's going in not to move the puck. He's going in to eat the puck. And so that's a coachable moment, because he has to recognize the room. And the room is they're playing a flood, they're playing urgent, and you got to chip it away from danger. So the chip away from danger is over to the right corner, your right corner. But that's when the turnover happens, because he doesn't. And then you got issues.
Yeah. And it's, Steos could have made that change. And Travis Green, he's been playing him, all season. And all the analytics tell you he is not – there are better options. Jordan Spence, when he was in the top 4 for an extended period of time, he did look a bit overstretched for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he still brings enough offense. Like if Jordan Spence, you put Jordan Spence with that play, he probably makes a really good read zone exit.
He might even have skated his way out of trouble there because you're going to win the race against O'Reilly.
His struggle is more basically like, okay, the other team comes in, they get zone pressure. Can he move guys out? Can he win those board battles? Right. Sure, but the thing with the Senators is they actually have the puck a lot, right? So, and he's a part of that reason too. And I'm not saying he's like the future top 4 defenseman in this team, but I do think he'd be better. And or even Nicholas Montopalo, who's just big, sturdy, and like, we were talking about it on the last show. There's not a lot of big defensemen on the Senators that are, He is one. He can move and throw guys around. And I just, talking about kind of how this season has gone away, I think little deployments and guys like playing Jensen basically in the top 4 too long and everything.
You know why Buffalo's winning? I'm going to pump your tires huge. Buffalo's winning because of a couple things. But number one, Matthias Samuelsson is huge. Rasmus Dahlin is huge. Bowen Byram is huge. Owen Power is huge. They just put Michael Kesselring in the lineup. He's huge. And they can all 4 of those guys, actually 5 of those guys can really skate. So they're extra guys. Bryson's not a very big guy. Zach Metz is not a very big guy. They have 1 small guy in their top, 2 small guys in their top 7. Everybody else is big. They're hard to get to the net on. They're very hard to get to the net on. And I think that's something they're going to have to get better at that in Ottawa. Bigger guys in the back end. I agree with that. Just one other thing, and I don't want to beat it up too much. You talked about Ottawa gets puck possession. We talked about this before. They won 72% of the faceoffs last night. 72%. Like, you got to dominate the game that's not even close. 72-28. That's not even close.
Nope.
You got to
against O'Reilly, who's really good too, which is But how many times this year have we said, hey, the Senators should have won the game and they lost?
A lot.
Way too many.
A lot. Now, again, to be fair, a good part of it was goaltending. It was. Yeah. But there have been other times when PK let them down big time, other times where discipline let them down. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. The line changes, they have to be better. They have to be better.
Yeah. And we're at the point now where it's like, it just, I was in a couple of group chats with media people. For me, this is season of hell. I don't even know how to explain how bad it is. Sometimes you have a bad year or guys underperform and we've talked about the PK, the goaltending for sure. Right side of the defense, they could obviously use another shooter and stuff, but just it's like everything goes wrong all at once every single time. And I actually felt hope yesterday, which I think makes the worst part of that loss was okay, they win this. They're only a couple of okay, then they people with it,
Look at all the teams in the division. They're all winning. Even though Montreal plays Buffalo, Montreal loses, Buffalo wins. So they're just pulling away from everybody. Boston wins, pulling away from everybody. Detroit gets a loser point, still moving ahead of the teams that lose in regulation. It just doesn't stop.
No.
I think when it's all set, and 5 teams like last year from the Atlantic will make the playoffs. 3 from the Metro, and that's the way it's setting up right now.
Yeah, and it's I don't think Fabian Zetterlund has been the solution either.
We've right from the start of the year, not to pick on the kid, I know he scores in bunches and he gets on streaks and he's on a down streak now, but they need more. They need way more.
To me, he holds back Stützle and Batherson. There's a lot of plays where they will be in transition and the puck kind of the transition opportunity ends with him because he doesn't have the ability to make those plays and kind of find guys.
They call that the dark hole syndrome. The puck goes there and just goes down the dark hole and it never comes out.
That's what my line mates in Pee Wee said about me, so I can relate. But it's a dark hole. It's definitely a dark hole. But yeah, it just there's you look at the offseason now, and you look at how this team was built, and every little decision it feels like that has been made. Not every, but there's been more losses and decisions than wins.
You're not going to free agent your way out of this one either, because all the meaningful free agents have already been extended. Like, it's not – this is going to be TSN and Sportsnet's worst nightmare on July 1st. There's no sizzle to the free agency market this year.
I know. Well, for sport, I think it'll be a great summer for Sportsnet. But I do think.
Hey, I've worked for both of them.
That's true. Yes, that's true. I mean, I always think of you as a TSN guy.
Well, I was. Yeah, for 12 years I was. It was all right.
Yeah, of course. But I will say, like, I still am optimistic. I don't know. I think the Tkachuk, what happens with him in the next 2 years, I think will be interesting if this is a failed season. I still think, like, for me, 2027 was the year for them to contend. I don't know if I feel as confident about that because I don't feel great about their draft selections. They don't have a pick this year. But I still think if you get a right shot defenseman and find a goaltender to be a tandem with Allmark, and maybe even the starter, we'll see. Maybe Allmark comes back and he's great. I hope so. I'd love him to be. I'd love him to be the 8.25 million guy in the Vezina Trophy. I just have seen a lot that doesn't make me. I'll believe it when I see it. That's basically. I don't trust the track record in terms of believing it to translate until when he comes back. But I hope to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. I would love to eat.
Yeah. Here's my concern. I know we've talked about this too, and this is just a little experiment for everybody to kind of look at. Detroit's in their division. They're not going to get worse. They're getting better. Buffalo's in their division. They're not going to get worse. They're going to get better. They brought in a new GM. I know him really well. He used to, by the way, for those that aren't old enough, he used to work in Ottawa when we were building the team, and he did some really good work. So Buffalo's going to be better. Montreal's not getting worse. Montreal's getting better. So right there, you got 3 teams in your division. You know that Florida and Tampa are always going to be competitive. Florida might take a couple steps back because of age and injury and the amount of trips to the final. Tampa's still legit, and their American League teams producing players, and they're doing it with a no-name defense right now, so they're going to get better. And Toronto, I haven't even talked about them. They're going to be the one that we'll see how it plays out.
But they'll outspend
Ottawa's in a tough neighborhood. Like, that's the thing. I don't know how much that's talked about, but in order for them to keep up, the neighborhood, they got to be proactive as a management team and a scouting staff. And I'm not just talking at the amateur level, I'm talking about the pro level. Like, it's restocking Belleville. It's making sure you got enough guys to play in the NHL. I was so happy for Holiday getting a goal.
I was going to say.
I think Alec can speak to this. I love it when kids do that. We text back and forth, and he gave me the word Holiday's coming up. I'm like, that's cool. That's good. I'm so happy. But they got to restock Belleville too. They blame the coach. They fired the coach. There are no more excuses. They fired a good man. They fired a good coach.
Watch out for Jay McKee in the future there. But
I think we've already talked about that. I think that's who's going in there, which is good.
Yeah,
Jay's a good hockey man. He's a good hockey man.
But I think you hit it on right. It's like who's coming up, and I think what I will say. I don't believe I need to check this because I last night was a crazy night because I had a story planned about Dylan Cousins when he scored, and I'm like, yes, everything's lined up. I texted my editor. I'm like, every time I have a story prepared, it always works. Like, I told Jake Sanderson that once, and he's like, you have to keep writing about me because I had a story for him, and he scored the next day in the game that I needed, and it went to shit. So I wasn't as locked in on all the little details of the game, but I'm pretty sure Stephen Halliday did not take a shift in the third period. I could.
I think you're right. I think he played less than 10 minutes in that game, or right around 10 minutes.
He played one shift in the third period.
Did he? What was his TOI?
Sorry, I am doing this as a fact tracker, but he did not play in the third period. And to me,
Yeah.
I don't know why you're not playing him. He had 9 minutes, lowest of any.
So that's what I mean. I thought he played less than 10. So that's not
But
enough.
there was a play in the first period. He made a great backtrack, disrupted a play.
Oh, yeah, no,
I don't know why. I don't know why there isn't trust for him defensively. I'm not saying you need to put him out like the way that Green utilizes Amadio, Pinto, Greg, Giroux. No, he's not your like putting him up against McDavid type of guy. But why isn't he playing in the third period? I thought they lost a lot of steam because they weren't creating a lot from that fourth line that was really effective until the third period and as the game subsided. So again, Travis Green play Stephen Halliday more. I just don't I don't see it being an issue, like a liability. He doesn't do anything wrong in his own end. I'm not saying he's Patrice Bergeron, but just I think he brings enough offensively that you want him on the ice.
Yeah.
But all in all, like they don't have enough of a farm system with enough talent. Although Arthur Kaliev's doing great stuff, I don't know if he'll be recalled until.
Yeah, that's kind of that whole thing is kind of a weird.
I just don't think they're going to recall. This is not reporting, but I just don't think they'll recall him until the allegations or the kind of the rumor.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Ex-girlfriend and stuff go away, but I don't think he'd be the like game-changing solution.
He hadn't done it yet in the NHL. You know, I watch a lot of American League games. I watch a lot of East Coast League games. There are a lot of guys down there that can score. Like they can really score. But there's a reason that it doesn't translate to the National Hockey League. And there's a deficiency, whether it's a skating thing, whether it's a hockey sense thing, whether, their release isn't as good in the NHL because they're not quick enough. It's just there's always one little thing. It's unbelievable, but history has proven over time. It's kind of like I think I said to you the other day, when a goalie gets beat a lot on the short side in the NHL, back in the day when I started out, they used to call that the American League side. And the reason why is because if you gave up too many short side goals, you were going back to the American Hockey League. And so that's just for goalies. And it's the same, I think, for players like up front.
Yeah. And I think with Kaliev specifically, like he's just not a good skater and he's not a good 200-foot player. Right. So it's like you're a tweener. You have to be a top six guy. And the Sens in a lot of ways could use a top six scorer, but I don't know if he has the pace to play at an NHL level. While I think in Belleville in the AHL, he can keep up just a bit better, and then everything kind of goes from there. But
I agree.
Yeah, it's a tough kind of situation they're in, and I think I would say it's bleak because I don't think they're going to be a bad team for years to come. I'm not. I think when you have Stützle and Sanderson signed for so long, and they, their stock just keeps going up. Like if they miss the playoffs this year, you're not going to be like, I don't know about that Tim Stützle or Jake Sanderson guy. Like you're not going to be like, oh, they're regressing. This team's in a hurt.
You made a great point before, though. You got a Brady issue. You're gonna have a Brady issue if this team misses the playoffs this year. That means his entire career he's made the playoffs once, and he's got a brother that's been in the final 3 straight years. And the year before that was on the best line in the National Hockey League. Playing with Elias Lindholm and the late Johnny Gaudreau, and they all had like over 100 points.
Yeah,
I don't know how that's going to play, and I'm not trying to scare people, but I know how competitive Brady is. And I'm opening up my curtains here so I can see a little better.
I will say, and maybe I'm getting ahead of this, and probably some Sens fans will hate me for saying this. I can see a pathway where trading him for like a boatload of everything can be a blessing in disguise. Not because I think it's what I want, but if you think he's not going to stay, I think there can be a world where you get like, how much is he worth he's worth a lot.
So the way I would look at it, he's your Herschel Walker. For those that don't know, Herschel Walker basically changed the fortunes of the Dallas Cowboys when he was traded to Minnesota. So he's your meal ticket in terms of if you're not keeping him, he brings back a plethora of talent. Whether you need a right D, whether you need a scoring forward, whether you need a shutdown D, whether you need a goalie, goalie could be part of it. I mean,
Sure.
this is where you can't make mistakes. So if you trade that chip in the game, and I'm saying if, not when, I'm saying if you do, you better hit it. Because Ottawa's made deals in the past where Mark Stone,
Oh my God.
Erik Karlsson, Joshy just got traded. Josh was a big part of that deal. So, you're trading chips in the game. You better not make mistakes.
No, you have to luck out like Pierre Dorian did on the Carlson trade, where the first somehow turned into Tim Stützle somehow, which is an incredible feat. But
yeah, that one, you get Joshy and you get Timmy out of that.
So basically, your first, because now Dylan Cousins, you basically have your first and second line center for forever.
So those trades ended up working out, or that trade in particular ended up working out.
Yeah. But then the Mark Stone was a second round pick, basically.
Yeah, that didn't really out. They got fooled. And Branstrom's such a good kid. I'm just telling you, Eric Branstrom's an amazing person. Love that kid. He and Gustafson used to come into the rink early together all the time, and I'd have a coffee with them, and they loved hockey. They wanted to talk about hockey history. They're great kids. Love those kids.
Cool.
But Eric was a depth defenseman. That's what he was. His game didn't translate to the NHL because of his size.
Yeah.
He's over in Europe now, and he's playing great. In Switzerland, he's playing great.
Yeah. Good player. Super skilled. He's like, there's only a couple Quinn Hugheses.
It's like Lassie Thompson. Lassie got rushed, I think. It was before I got there, but Lassie got – then I spent a lot of time with Lassie in the American League. And Lassie started to show some pretty good promise. He really did, and his attitude was outstanding. Lassie's attitude was great. But now he's a grizzled old guy. Not old, but you know what I mean, for hockey life.
Middle-aged guy.
Yeah, he's a middle-aged guy in hockey now, and it never worked out. It's tough.
And I think, you've talked about this on many occasions. It's all about, in essence, like how good is your amateur staff? How good is your pro scouting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the last couple of years, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Logan Hensler is, the next big thing. It's still too early.
I wouldn't overhype. That's why I'm saying you're doing it the right way, Alex. You are. You're doing it. I really appreciate working with you because of the way you're handling this in particular. Give Logan Hensler time to evolve. Let's not prejudge one way or the other. It's like there are guys that get jobs in the NHL. I can tell you right now. I laugh because I'm like, I know that guy, and he's not good at his job. But I'll never prejudge because sometimes guys can change and they can get better. They can. So I don't prejudge on anything. And I think I learned that because when I was younger in my career, I used to, especially when I was in the coaching side of it. Because back then, coaches used to work a lot together, hockey camps in the summer, convention here, all this different stuff. And a lot of times back in those days, coaches went on the road scouting. They did. The staffs weren't like they are now. So you would see guys in different places, especially when you're in Western Canada. And you would talk with them in the hotel lobby or whatever, and you'd be like, ooh, I'm not sure I'd have this guy working on my staff. You just because you'd be like, well, this guy doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I think, we always live in like the reality and judged on like the now, like very much so more than ever. And, a year ago, Steve Staios looks like a genius. Travis Green looks like a really good coach. And I still think on Green, I feel more about because I feel I have more track record. I think, I was thinking about this last night. I think he probably has like 25-30% of the blame for this season. And if anything, it's probably him being tied to Baumgartner and that PK and all that rather than everything else in certain situations. But I don't think he's like, I always have fans being like, should they fire Green? I'm like, I don't think he's the number. When I look back at this season, he's not going to be my number one reason. And for me, I think they play well for the most part. Structurally, they're good enough, especially at 5-on-5. I think he's a pretty good coach. Does he have flaws like most coaches and people? Yes. But to me, this isn't this in on him. But for Staios, there's less of a track record. You look at the picks, you look at the pro scouting. I've loved Amadio. I will love that signing forever. Never going to complain about that. But, there's the Dylan Cousins trade probably works out, I think. I think because of, unfortunately, Josh Norris's injury history, he's injured again. But outside of those two deals, you see way more L's than wins. And maybe in a year, Logan Hensler's great. Carter Yakimchuk's awesome. You make a trade, you flip this. The Sens are now first in the Atlantic. I can see that. I'm not at that stage where I think I think they can be a really, really good team next year.
I still think they can be a good team this year. I'm not writing them off, but you correctly said it from the start. Carolina, Vegas, Colorado, just take care of one at a time. They're all on home ice. Take care of those 6 points. If any deviation from that, I don't see a pathway. I'm not, unless somebody has a complete meltdown in the Atlantic, which I don't see trending that way right now. You got to get the next 6 points. Like we talked about it. At least they got points in Columbus. They got points at home against Montreal. They got points, but now no points last night against basically a non-playoff team, and you had a 3-0 lead. Painful.
Just win one at a time. I had this whole like monologue about they win, they can go beat Vegas, beat Carolina. Then there's 1 point away, and it's not at that stage. But you never know. Things have been weirder, and if they can still, again, they're now drifting a bit farther. They're now 7 points up. But if they can be in that 3 to 4 range by the Olympic break, I think when teams come back from the Olympic break, it'll be it'll be weird. Everyone's going to lose their momentum completely. And that's when I think the Sens, maybe with goaltending, maybe a better PK and just some, things kind of regression to their own mean, maybe they can go on a run because their schedule is actually quite easy.
It's scheduled softer after the Olympic break. I agree with that. Here's the dirty little secret in the league right now. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is watching Pittsburgh play. And you better start. I'm telling you right now, you better start watching them play. They throttled Edmonton last night. They didn't just beat them. They throttled them. They did. So they did. That's a back-to-back. Calgary and Edmonton. They win to Seattle. They won. Like Pittsburgh, not just a wild card team now. I'm just telling you, like nobody's talking. I can't believe I can say this to you because you work so hard at this. I can't believe, Alex, how many guys in the national stage don't even know the players in the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's shocking to me.
St. Ivany.
Jack St. Ivany's a kid from California that went to Yale University and transferred to Boston College, who was part of the U.S. National Team Development Program, was playing in Wilkes-Barre. Okay? Ryan Shea was a kid from Northeastern University. His father, Neil, is a scout for the Colorado Avalanche. People don't even know who this guy is. Like I can chapter and verse on all their – and it's like, okay, and then like this is how you catch people. Who's been their most productive line? And people are, well, clearly Russ, Crosby, and Raquel. And then I'll say, how about if I told you that it's not those guys? How about if I told you that it's a guy that used to play for Boston and then played for Toronto? And then how about if I told you the center iceman has played in LA, came from St. Cloud State University? And how about if I told you the other guy on the left wing played in Minnesota? He's been mostly a minor league player. How about if I told you that's probably been their most important line? And people would be like, who? People don't watch their game. This is what, if you don't watch, don't say.
Yeah.
Like, don't pretend. And I think it's doing an injustice to the fans.
I will say, I just wish Ottawa had more of those stories.
Well, yeah.
Outside of Halliday, which was great. Lovely kid. I love that guy. Really good guy.
Fair. No, that's a really good point.
But that's the thing with this
That's
team.
a great point. That's a really good point.
When was the last time, maybe the years like in the 2013, 2014, 2015, there was like Zach Smith, Greeny, like some kind of guys from nowhere.
Zach's a good one. That's a really good one.
But right now with this team, they have not been hitting on picks. They haven't been finding diamonds in the rough. And that's how you get that 5% better. That's how you find a guy to play on your right side of the defense, that you didn't expect, right? Or a guy to be a really
good way to look at it. Really good way to look at it. I'm just trying to see here. Like, I'll use another one. Buffalo, Jordan Greenway, Peyton Krebs, Beck Malenstein. If I told you that they're influencing the outcome of most games that Buffalo played, you'd be like, no way, that's BS. That's not happening. But it is. It's like you watch Nola Chari play, you watch Connor Dewar play, you watch Blake Lizotte play for Pittsburgh, like, how'd they get those guys? Like, come on. How'd they get those guys? Because every game those guys make a difference. It's unbelievable.
Or like even the Paterka trade, right? You get Josh Doan. They just signed him to a big, like, he's a good player. He's become a really good player.
Playing on the first
line. That's the kind of trade where it's like you trade, for example, and I don't know.
They got two guys in that deal.
And Kessler, but he's just been hurt, so I don't want to. But you could say that trade 1 for 1.
I know Tage Thompson, to Alex Tuck, and Doan. Like, that's a legitimate first line in the NHL. It's a legit, like, a really good first. This is all I'm saying. Like, if you get more depth players, that pumps your other guys up because they don't have to do as much heavy lifting, and then they can go out and do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but the dirty little secret, and I'll steal this from my pal from coming in hot, Graham Nichols. Pierre Dorion set this team. He crushed the 2020 draft. Obviously, you worked with him. He missed a lot on. I think the rebuild. This team could be in a way better place if they didn't trade second-round picks for Derek Stepan, if they didn't make the Matt Murray trade, if they didn't trade Gustafsson for 1 year of Cam Talbot, which is still, I never will understand it in the moment, right? They picked.
By the way, I wouldn't work in there then.
I know. There's like a year of clarity that weirdly aligns with your year in Ottawa. But Ben Roger, first-round pick, like all these, or a second-round pick, sorry, like all these guys that are kind of out of the league, like missing on draft picks, trading too many draft picks, trading for DeBrincat when he's doesn't want to stay. I was only high on that trade because I presumed that he wanted to stay. And obviously he did. And
anybody that played for Victory Honda before they went to the OHL, they're going back to Michigan as soon as they get an opportunity to. That's just how it is, man.
DeBrincat, that guy. Anyways, but my point being is this team could look more like Detroit, Montreal, Buffalo, but they missed it. And I give, we'll see Gabriel Eliasson. That pick might just like scare me for years if it doesn't work out, which is probably likelier than not at this point. But I'd say most of those, like, hey, why don't we have more guys kind of in Belleville? That's more on the Pierre Dorion era rather than on Steos. But still, I wouldn't say you look back, and again, we're January 2026. A lot of things can change. I wouldn't say you look back at the last two drafts under Steos and say, nailed it. So he has blame pie. He traded Chychrun for Nick Jensen. It worked for half a season, but they could have done a version of the Paterka trade, right? Where you get two younger guys that are better players. And, again, there's a lot of what ifs, and that's the worst part about it. But
all right, you have to enjoy your weekend. Let's get more positive.
I know.
Here. I'm looking forward to 2 good games. Looking forward to Carolina. I'm looking forward to Vegas. I'll be talking to you on Sunday morning. I'll be talking to you on Monday morning. I'm looking for more positive stuff. Come on, boys. Let's get going here.
Let's get a win. Beat Carolina. They're frauds. I've said it for years. I'm kidding, but not really. Don't believe them as a playoff team. So beat them. Make me feel better about both of my kind of beliefs about the Sens and Carolina, and then we're on a roll. So, Pierre, thanks so much for taking the time and doing this.
Thanks,
we always
Alex.
really appreciate it. Great show despite the L, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Sens Spotlight on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.